White Sands National Monument in Alamogordo, New Mexico. The wind-blown sands and rolling dunes of White Sands National Monument blanket an area of 115 square miles in south-central New Mexico. It is the largest pure gypsum dune field in the world. A pure white expanse that has drawn a steady flow of visitors for over 80 years. Located at the northern limits of the Chihuahuan Desert and at the edge of a U.S. military base and missile test facility, this U.S. national park is as obscure as it is beguiling. Visitors can drive to various undulating dunes, take hikes through a nature reserve and even purchase sleds for cruising down the dunes. Year in and year out, the most active dune fields can move in a northeasterly direction at a rate of up to 30 feet per year. These abnormal dunes, formed out of pure gypsum, hydrous calcium sulfate, are born out of an ephemeral lake or playa with a very high mineral content, located in the western section of the monument. As the water in the lake evaporates, it leaves behind minerals that form gypsum deposits. These deposits are then transported by wind and form the ever-expanding sea of dunes. Horseshoe Bend near Page, Arizona. This bend in the Colorado River is getting plenty of attention from those looking for the Grand Canyon. It is located approximately 140 miles from both the south rim and the north rim of the Grand Canyon, but only 5 miles from the beginning of Grand Canyon National Park. This place has become highly memorable and many people seek it out when they are in the Grand Canyon area. Many visitors are not aware that the Grand Canyon is surrounded by many small canyons and Horseshoe Bend is oftentimes expected to be in the Grand Canyon. However, it is just several miles from the beginning of the national park and is growing in popularity annually. Now people are adding it to their Grand Canyon experience, because they can have their picture taken and it feels like you in the Grand Canyon, making it feel like you are in the Grand Canyon near the Colorado River. The height of Horseshoe Bend on the Colorado River is 300 meters, 984 feet. The vertigo that you feel when close to the edge is something impossible to describe and is perhaps one of the reasons why there are victims who die from falling off every year. Castle Rock in Gove County, Kansas. Geography Monument Rocks and Castle Rock are an 8th wonder of Kansas as a duo entry because of the scientifically significant fossils these ancient chalk beds have produced and because they have been highly eroded into unusual spires and shapes, making them spectacular landmarks on the plains of western Kansas. On the western edge of Gove County is Monument Rocks, a series of large, heavily sculpted chalk monoliths that are sometimes referred to as the Chalk Pyramids. The site has been designated as a National Natural Landmark. In eastern Gove County is Castle Rock, a chalk spire that stands by itself in the valley of Hackberry Creek, though immediately south of Castle Rock is an extensive outcrop of chalk, capped by the younger Ogallala Formation. Mesquite Flat Sand Dunes in Death Valley National Park, California. Nothing makes a better introduction to Death Valley than a visit to the 100-foot, 30-meter-high Mesquite Flat Sand Dunes. The best time to visit is just before sunrise or around sunset because of the incredible show of color and light. A walk on these silky, rippled dunes will convince you that you're someplace far from the familiar. The dunes have no marked trail because of the continually shifting desert sands, so improvise, make a beeline from the parking lot to the highest sandy ridgeline. How far you wander is completely up to you. The best time to visit is just before sunrise or around sunset because of the incredible show of color and light. Long shadows and soft light make fantastic dune photos. In the early morning, you can spot animal tracks made during the night, especially the tiny footprints of birds and rodents. Full moon nights on the dunes are spectacular, but night visitors must watch for rattlesnakes, especially in hot months. Gillette Castle State Park in East Haddam, Connecticut. Did you ever turn a corner and suddenly feel like you've driven off the map? Discovered your own little patch of unspoiled turf? That's how it feels to stumble across Gillette Castle in East Haddam, Connecticut, a Gaudi-like stone castle teetering on the tip-top of a precipice. You can get there by taking the Chester-Hadlime Ferry, a historical landmark. That's been operating for over 200 years. It was used during the American Revolution, and is definitely the most fun way to reach Gillette Castle. The castle is amazing. From a distance, it looks like a medieval sand castle, dribbled on top of a cliff. Up close, it's a handmade work of art, with no uniformity, and plenty of crooked lines and unmatched stones. It jigs and jags and meanders and soars. It's living and breathing, and speaking of breath, the views of the Connecticut River from the terrace will certainly take it away. The story of the castle is almost as good as its looks. It was designed and built by William Gillette in 1914, who portrayed Sherlock Holmes on stage for over 30 years. An inventor as well, he tinkered with the insides as much as the outsides, designing most of its contents, and taking 25 years to complete the 24-room mansion, raised from local fieldstone. With no heirs, his will stipulated that the estate could not go to a blithering saphead who has no conception of where he is or with what's surrounded. The state took over the property in 1943. There are hiking trails encircling the castle like webs of time. Canyon de Chelly National Monument in Apache County, Arizona. Canyon de Chelly is one of the most visited national monuments in the United States. He served as a home for Navajo people before it was invaded by forces led by future New Mexico Governor Lieutenant Antonio Narbona in 1805. In 1863, Colonel Kit Carson sent troops through the canyon, killing 23 Indians, seizing 200 sheep, and destroying hogans, as well as peach orchards and other crops. The resulting demoralization led to the surrender of the Navajos and their removal to Bosque Redondo, New Mexico. Canyon de Chelly is entirely owned by the Navajo Tribal Trust of the Navajo Nation. It is the only National Park Service unit that is owned and cooperatively managed in this manner. About 40 Navajo families live in the park. Access to the canyon floor is restricted, and visitors are allowed to travel in the canyons only when accompanied by a park ranger or an authorized Navajo guide. The only exception to this rule is the White House Ruin Trail. The park's distinctive geologic feature, Spider Rock, is a sandstone spire that rises 750 feet (229 meters) from the canyon floor at the junction of Canyon de Chelly and Monument Canyon. Spider Rock can be seen from South Rim Drive. It has served as the scene of a number of television commercials. According to traditional Navajo beliefs, the taller of the two spires is the home of Spider Grandmother. Most park visitors arrive by automobile and view Canyon de Chelly from the rim, following both North Rim Drive and South Rim Drive. Ancient ruins and geologic structures are visible, but in the distance, from turnoffs on each of these routes. Deep within the park is Mummy Cave. It features structures that have been built at various times in history. Private Navajo-owned companies offer tours of the canyon floor by horseback, hiking or four-wheel drive vehicle. The companies can be contacted directly for prices and arrangements. No entrance fee is charged to enter the park, apart from any charges imposed by tour companies. Accommodations for visitors are located in the vicinity of the canyon, on the road leading to Chelly, which is the nearest town.